people talking about inflation and how do I get to a point to where my parents were, where, I just want to have an automobile. I want to be able to buy a house. I want to be able to support a family. And things are really tough right now. So let's talk about some of the reasons that maybe you think, and I'll put in my 2 cents too. But what are your initial thoughts on the younger generation, people in their 20s, early 30s going, hey, I can't buy a home. Now, right now, interest rates are high and that makes it difficult to afford. But what are your initial thoughts?
I really and sincerely believe that our political systems have sold us out again and again. I've watched some of the reports over the years, and the hours that you'd have to work in order to pay for your mortgage, you go 20 years back, and it's a lot less time to pay for that mortgage, where now it's going straight up compared to what people are earning. And when you're starting out as a young person, it appears to be very close to impossible because you just can't catch up with that hockey puck going, or hockey stick going straight up. And your income isn't increasing, and that just makes a tremendous pressures on families, young families, even to have families. It's gone up dramatically, and it's a real challenge.
Yeah, and what you're talking about there is, how I talk about labor a lot. If you guys watch anything that I do, the value of labor hasn't changed, but what we're getting paid in dollars has changed. So that's kind of a hidden tax called inflation. And that's what you're talking about. And it's when I'm getting paid the same amount of paper dollars for the value of my labor, but yet the paper dollars don't have as much value, my labor is being devalued. And when your labor is devalued, you don't have the purchasing power that you had before.
I just put it in a very simple way. If you get a raise, great. But if it costs you $100 for a cup of coffee, you might have to work most of the day for a cup of coffee, because the rate of the expansion of the prices of things gets to be so extreme that you can't pay for your basics. A cup of coffee, a cup of milk, whatever it is, it becomes more and more expensive, and you have to jump further just to make that normal expense. And then when you have to pay for your gas, which is more, nearly doubled. There's some figures where the average person spends 4 times what was 5 years ago for their food costs. That's huge. When those gaps occurred, and the reason I think it's going on is because decisions within our government to spend money here and there. I am a green person. I love green things. My family's had electric cars have gotten great mileage 40 years ago. It's important to us, but the Green New Deal has not been green at all. It's been what I call green ghosting. But we see that kind of ghosting with our money in almost every direction we look. It's not giving us return, so we pay more and more government-wise for what's going on, and then it costs us more than we ever earn, or the increase of our earning, and we get further and further behind. And it's a shame for young families. I'm watching my grandchildren are going to have a harder time getting in the flow of things because everything is more expensive. and the earning does not keep up with those expenses. That's where it kills us.
And you start to get behind. You start to get behind, and then you can't save, and then your car breaks down because you couldn't afford a new one, and then it breaks down again, and it gets older, and you just start this downward spiral financially, and that's where a lot of people are. Even people in the middle class are starting to spiral down because, they had good jobs. They had jobs, and maybe their spouse had a job also, where they could afford things and they could plan for the future. But with this downward spiral, it makes it hard, living paycheck to paycheck, to even plan for a vacation, let alone a house.
Yeah, it becomes overwhelming, and in the mathematical sense, it is, because everything's increased, but your income hasn't increased to the degree that other things around you cost, the food, the housing, and those are basic things. And I see some people, or I'm aware of some people, who've just kind of cut back to the point of it's rock bottom, just to make it day to day for the living expenses. And there's something tremendously wrong with our society when we do this to the middle class, to the poor and the middle class. Those are the two factors that are important. Why the rich get much richer. I mean, I hear politicians say that, going to tax the rich. Well, so far they haven't done it. They haven't even come close. And it's not helping the middle class.
Right. And the taxes are very deceiving. You can't just do it. Look, you more jobs, now you have more people paying taxes. Guess what? The tax revenue goes up.
Yeah,
that's just how it works. I have an economic business background. I'm a businessman. I own multiple businesses, and I've been doing it all my life, since I was in my 20s. And it's hard for the middle class to have a plan. How do we reverse this? And so they're thinking of a plan. Well, I have to have my salary doubled. That's not going to happen. But for them to get back to where they were, it has to be doubled. And it's percentage-wise, I think we've kind of talked about this before, but I think you all out there can follow this. The lower income people are getting burdened with the taxes more than the upper. And it's not because of the tax rates and tax formulas and all of that. Because you can tax wealthy person so much money or such a percentage, that's not a big deal. But when the economic policies cause inflation, that's really a tax. So when bread is $3 and now it's $6, why? Why did it go from $3 to $6? Because of the devaluing of the dollar. So the bread is still the same. It's still the same loaf of bread, but it costs twice as many dollars. That's an indirect tax. And maybe some of you aren't understanding or can't connect the dots there, but when the dollar is deflated by printing money, by spending too much money, it devalues the dollar. Well, who's spending the money? You guys can figure that out. And when that happens, the value of the dollar goes down, which is basically, hopefully you can connect the dots now, a tax. So what's the answer? I don't know. I wish I had it. I can see the cause, but I mean, I do have an answer, but this is not an answer that's just so easy for anyone out there. You know, you've got to start your own business. You have to generate your own labor. You have to get out of the trap of the old, middle class. I'm going to have a career. I'm going to make this much money. No, your labor is harnessed. Your labor is harnessed when you do that. You have to get out of that trap and be able to use your own labor for supplies, for food, for your needs, for tangible items. And really the only way to do that is to leapfrog the middle class, start your own business, and harness your own labor and create and do that so that you can have more of the dollars which represent the labor. I hope that makes sense. It makes sense what I said.
Well, it does to me. If you think of it, every bite of bread that you take, you used to be spending 10 cents on the government tax or the government decisions, and now you're spending 50 cents. That makes a big difference just in those areas. So everything that you're consuming costs more because of the attitude of our political system. And I think there's got to be some real changes. Until we say no to just spending in every direction, it's going to just go faster than we can keep up with. We're on a treadmill. Just go faster. That isn't the right answer. To say no to some things and yes to others, to strategically plan how I'm going to increase my net worth. It's really something we need to concentrate on very hard.
Yeah, and you can't just go get another job. Well, I'll go get another part-time job. You're just making it worse. It's not getting any better. So that's not the solution. The solution is you have to start your own business, and it can still be done in the United States. It's still possible to start your own business. You can start small and you can start with a minimal amount of money. But I think instead of getting another job, keeping your job and getting another job, try to keep your job and start a business. Start slow, start small, and then you control the prices. If you're mowing lawns, you control the price. I had 2 young kids knocked on my door a couple days ago and said, "Hey, I got their card right here," and they're washing windows. And it's like, hey, give us a chance. We'll wash a couple of your windows. You see if you like it. And that's not so easy to do. I mean, it takes effort, and you can't be lazy, but those are things you got to do. So start a small business where you're, like I said, washing windows, mowing lawns, pulling weeds, where you can at least control what you're charging for your labor. So I think that's the best option.
Okay.
All right. So Pastor Brote, thanks for being with us again, and we will talk to you next time.
A privilege.